the first domino to fall in the NBA offseason has fallen. Desmond Bane has been traded to the Orlando Magic, and it did not come with the cheap price tag as the Orlando Magic were forced to dish out Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 first-round picks, including the 16th overall pick in this year's draft, as well as 1 future first-round pick swap in 2029. And while that may sound like a lot, I love this trade for the Magic, because their biggest issues throughout the course of this past 2-year run that they've gone on with Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner has been shooting and overall offensive creativity. Desmond Bane brings that. Because with the Grizzlies, in the midst of their instability over the past couple years, over the last 3 years, he's averaged more than 20 points and 5 assists, and been a very, very good shooter. So I think that fixes all of their major issues, at least for the time being, because now that brings up a new issue of what do you do with the future in terms of assets and how you're going to manage the contract situation once Paolo gets his, once Franz gets his, if you have to pay Mo Wagner. But for a team like the Magic, who is this young, I'm sure they are seeing right now what the Pacers are doing in the finals, which they are down 3-2, but they are putting up a pretty decent fight. And you look at the East, it's not very good, because you look at the Bucks. They might lose Giannis. Giannis might go to the Spurs. So that's one team that is no longer a true contender. The Celtics, they're not going to have Jason Tatum next year, and you have no idea what they're going to be like. That's another team that's in doubt. The Knicks, you don't know who their coach is going to be, because they haven't handled that coaching situation very well. And so you have no idea about what they're going to be like next season. So that right there are 3 teams that currently made the playoffs that you have no idea if they'll be on the same level. So for the Magic, this accelerates their timeline with making sure that their young guys, who both of them, especially Paolo Banchero, has played very well in the playoffs and have been in the playoffs on a couple of occasions, and while they may not have made it very far, they did put up a very good fight to teams. They weren't an easy first-round knockout. And so I think that with the Magic getting Desmond Bane, their starting 5 is tremendous. Because you have Jalen Suggs, who is a great defender and pretty good three-point shooter. You have Desmond Bane, a great three-point shooter and a pretty good defender. You have Franz Wagner, who is a pretty good player all around. He doesn't have major weaknesses, but he does play pretty well at pretty much everything. And then at the 4, you have Paolo Banchero, and he is more of a old-school type of power forward, where he's more of a stronger guy who's willing to put his back into you and back you down and settle for a fadeaway or just a mid-range jump shot, as well as being who I think is a pretty good playmaker. And then at the center, this is where you can have some variance occur, because you don't know whether or not it's going to be Wendell Carter or whether or not it's going to be Mo Wagner, which I think won't be the last move that the Magic make. I think they're going to go get another big man. But I think overall for the Magic, I would definitely grade this trade a B+ to A-, because I think they fix some of their biggest issues and make sure that their starting 5 is even better. And now looking to the other side of this trade, the Grizzlies seem to sort of announce in a way that this is going to be a new era, because this Bane, Jackson Jr., and Ja era has been pretty decent for them. They've made the playoffs a couple of times, but they haven't been able to take that next step, and I think this trade could be something that allows for future stability with future assets that can be moved to go get a star, as well as freeing up cap space, in which they will probably give to Jaren Jackson Jr. And it also raises a couple questions about what do you do with Ja Morant, because if he is still the guy, which I don't know if Ja Morant is that guy. I personally wouldn't build around him, because I think that overall someone who's in and out of the lineup isn't someone that I think can be this facilitator of an offense and be the hub of a team that has lofty playoff expectations. But I think that there are a lot of questions, but this allows the Grizzlies to get cap flexibility, allows them to get a young guard in Cole Anthony, who, while he may not be the best player, he's still relatively young, so you can experiment and see what you have with him. You get veteran leadership from a guy like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who has won a couple of championships with the Lakers and Nuggets, and you also lose $20 million of salary for next year. So you get overall money. I say lose because technically they get money back, but you understand what I'm trying to say. The Grizzlies overall, I think, got a pretty good return if this is what they wanted to do, which obviously it is, considering they got the deal done. But I think this raises a couple of questions, again, about Ja Morant, about Jaren Jackson Jr., and I think it also raises a couple questions about what is the future going to look like if there's going to be a third star. Because I don't see a way in which the Grizzlies are delusional and think, you know what, we can contend. Because this move to me screams of them coming to terms with the fact that the Western Conference is an absolute bloodbath. Because you need to get to almost 50 wins just to, you know what, be comfortable with your playoff seeding. So I think that this move is kind of a realization that this current group isn't getting it done. It's just not good enough. Well, sure, you may have made the playoffs a couple times. At least for me, I don't want my franchise getting swept in the first round, or not making the playoffs, or losing in the first or second round. To me, that doesn't seem like a successful group. That doesn't seem like something that you can build around and keep saying, making sure that you keep running it back and paying all the money and putting all of your chips in the table if you don't know you're going to get great results. And I think part of this has to do with Ja Morant because of his instability with his off-the-court actions that he's done a couple years ago, as well as something that he can't control, which is the injuries. I'm not going to blame an athlete for them getting injuries because obviously no athlete wants to be injured, but I think that if you're looking at it, you have a point guard who you really can't rely on, and then you have a power forward who, sure, he may be, I'm talking about Jaren Jackson Jr., well, sure, he may be a defensive player of the year. He might be one of the worst rebounders for his size I've ever seen. Because he is someone who is not a good rebounder. He just is not good at being a traditional big man from that perspective of play. Because for someone who is 6'10", to not even get 6 rebounds a game is not good. And I think the lack of his growth has really stunted them because, while sure, he may this year put up 22 points per game, I don't think that really matters for him. Because what have they accomplished? They haven't done anything. In the playoffs, overall, his postseason numbers, he drops tremendously. This year, he had 22 points per game. In the playoffs, he had 16. His efficiency, he shot 49% from the field in the regular season. In the playoffs, 38. 38%. For a guy who, for 2 games, was the number 1 option, or 1A, 1B type situation, and is expected to be the number 2 option and the number 1 guy on defense, and you can't even get a block per game? That's just not good enough. And then looking at his defense, it's fallen off of a cliff from where it was. He was at 3 blocks per game. Now he's down to 1.5. And his steals, okay, big whoop, they've gone up by 0.2 a game. I mean, he's overall reaching his potential, which, sure, he's maybe a fringe all-star, maybe number 3 type of guy, but I don't think he's a number 1 guy on most nights because you can't trust that your point guard's going to be able to be there. So I think for the Grizzlies, this move is going to, at least in my personal opinion, it's an indicator of future actions that are going to happen. I think you're going to see instances where Ja Morant will be in trade talks, or Ja Morant will have to be told, dude, you need to play. Or Jaren Jackson Jr., be a big man, dude. You are 6'10", and you can't get me 6 rebounds? So for the Grizzlies, I think that you gave up, right? You gave up your probable most stable asset that you had. And you got a guy who can be someone who might be able to steady the ship when Ja Morant isn't around. You get veteran leadership and someone who knows how to win. You get first round picks, and then you get a swap. I think the Grizzlies, if I'm making this with the assumption that there will be other moves made. So with my assumption that other moves will be made, I think this is an A, because I think that you get rid, or you get some money back that you can use to further invest in the team, whether or not that is give a larger contract to Jaren Jackson Jr., whether or not that is going and looking in the free agent pool to see if there's anyone that you want to get. I think overall you allow yourself more flexibility, you attain draft capital, which allows you to go out and trade for a star, and then you get young assets that maybe could be someone who could be a very solid part of your rotation and bench depth, which the Grizzlies always seem to just get second round picks or undrafted players who just grow on trees and end up being very solid role players. So that's a testament to the fact that the Grizzlies front office is very, very good at their job, and I think they'd had a very good deal here. So overall, I think that the Orlando Magic get a B+, and I think the Grizzlies get an A. I think this was pretty close to, or as close to a win-win trade as you can get, because I think both teams are coming to their realization that one conference is so much better than the other, and the one conference that isn't is really not good. But that is the Scoop with Coop. I am, of course, Coop. Let me know in the comments if you have anything that you want to say. Until next time.